Welcome to the What's Happening Birmingham video podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Jarvis Escott with What's Happening Birmingham. Today, I have the honor and pleasure of being with Taliba Bales of TMB Tax and Financial Services. This is a very familiar face. She came on the podcast last year. How you doing, friend?
I am doing well, friend. How are you?
Great. Want to bring her back to, last time we brought back during tax season, so much has changed in this world. Yes. And if things change in the world on other fronts, it's definitely going to change when it comes to the finances and the accounting and tax season, which is always a very interesting for all of my friends that do finance and accounting and bookkeeping. So first of all, Ms. Bales, how you been doing?
I've been doing well. I can't complain too much. It's definitely, been a challenging year, and 2021 has certainly started off with a bang. So you know what? I don't have any real complaints. You know what? We're all pushing through. And in the small business community, we are pivoting. And so, I believe that it's a wonderful time to be a business owner this year.
All right. So the reason why I want to bring her on today, we're going to specifically talk about PPP, Paycheck Protection Program, which helped a lot of small business kind of through a lifeline to a lot of us last year. Well, they're back again with a second round, and we're going to have a really good discussion. So you all, let's just buckle up. Now, keep in mind that if you're watching this video today, the information might change. So don't hold that against us. So we're just dealing with what we're dealing with at this moment, of what we know from the Small Business Administration. So the first question I want to ask you is, can people apply this time as they applied the first time?
Yes. So there are two start dates, if I could call them that. Today, January the 11th, is the day that community development institutions are going to be allowed to accept applications. And this really is reflecting a lot of the outcry that happened during the first time as it relates to minority-owned businesses. And so SBA specifically targeted those financial institutions who cater and provide services to our community. So that's going to be your community development financial institutions, your minority-owned financial institutions, your local banks that are specifically targeting women, veteran, minority-owned businesses. So all of those groups can apply today. And then there's another start date of the 13th, which is, what is the 13th? Lord, I should know. That's my Founder's Day. I think that's Wednesday, maybe. And so, that's going to be another start date. And then shortly after that, they're going to have all the businesses be able to apply. But like I said, today through Wednesday is specifically carved out to allow our minority-owned businesses to apply first.
Okay, well, before we start, let's go back before. What were some of the things that you noticed the first time around when people was applying for the PPP program? Whether it's people in your field or, the clients you was dealing with?
Well, we know because it hit the news, so it became sort of this nationwide microscope on the PPP program, because a lot of the big businesses ended up getting it. Ruth Chris was up. We're finding out as we go, like how a lot of the bigger businesses actually used up all the money. And so first round of PPP ran out and a lot of small business owners did not get funded. Some of your big banks, your Wells Fargo, your Bank of America, I had folks who were members of those big banks did not get the opportunity to apply. So that's a lot of why, how we started when it came to right now, they're actually allowing for the smaller businesses to apply during this round. And that's in response to what we saw. Then because that was happening, because people were members of the big box banks and they weren't having the opportunity to apply, there was really like a rat race, so to speak, on trying to find financial institutions that would accept new accounts, so new members, so that businesses could apply. So then it was, all right, where are you located? You know, let's try to find a CDFI in your state. Let's try to find a local bank in your state. And that was obviously very frustrating for businesses who have anxiety about a whole bunch of other stuff. And so now, you know, you had people feeling like, I'm now having to jump through hurdles to simply find a bank to be able to determine if I'm even going to get the money. So that was a lot of the issues the first time as well. And that was just simply getting to the PPP application. But once we actually got to the PPP application, you know, we found that a lot of us were ended up sitting on the sidelines because of a major issue that's still going to be the case during this round, and that is documentation. That is, have you done your taxes? That's really where the conversation starts when it comes to PPP, whether that's your income taxes, Schedule Cs, or your corporate taxes. And also, if you actually have a formal payroll system, and if you were paying your 941s, your quarterly payroll tax. So, you know, that was, you know, just in the midst of COVID, challenge upon challenge for a lot of our minority-owned businesses in that area. And so, you know, in a response to that, that's why you had a lot of us service providers kind of making our companies a blended organization, in the sense that, hey, how can we get out in front of this? Let's educate our businesses on lessons learned, so that this time, you know, we have $8 billion that was set aside for this PPP round currently in 2021. Let's make sure more and more of our minority-owned businesses actually get this money.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about the eligibility part, because I saw something they was breaking down between the 300 under. What was that all about? So who's more specifically eligible this time?
So it's just the same groups are eligible, but what they did, the difference in that, Jarvis, is still speaking to the same thing I talked about before, where the very first round of PPP, you had the bigger small businesses sopping up the money, so to speak. So drilling it from 500,000 to 300,000 is the government's response to say, all right, so we're going to say if you have 300 employees, or less, and not 500. So that was really the response. So we're going to restrict it even further so that we can try to make sure that this actually gets in the hands of small business owners. Of course, you know, in the first round, particularly with a company like Ruth Chris, you know, if you have a franchised type business, those businesses will still probably qualify. But this was just the federal government's response to try to restrict the PPP eligibility to the true small business owners.
So how much can a person apply for on this second time? How do they break that down?
So, you know, you have the first draw and the second draw, right? So it's a little bit different. And this is where we have the interim filing rule outs, or the IFRs from the SBA. They are out. They were out last week. We suspect we're still waiting on a little more clarification next Wednesday. I was on a call this morning. But your first draw, folks, it's 10 million. Right. That's what I read in all these pages, was that it's a $10 million max. I believe that the max for second draw, folks, is 2 million. So, you know, still a good amount of relief that you can apply for either first or second draw.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, because I remember seeing something like 2.5 times your income. What was that all
Okay,
about?
so you're talking about how it's calculated. And that's a very good question, because it actually is slightly different this round. The first rounds last year, it was 2.5 time. It was a whole formula, but 2.5 was the integer that they used to determine what your payroll costs and determine your overall eligibility. This year, what's different, particularly they're trying to cater to restaurants, as well as sort of your accommodation services, your hotels. You know, those are one of the hardest hit industries. They can use 3.5. times payroll expenses. So you have 2.5 for non-accommodation services, restaurant industry, and then 3.5 if you are in that. But that's just a part of an overall formula to determine what your max eligibility is going to be for your particular business.
Okay, so that leads me to my next question. That you can take as much time you want to on this next question.
Okay.
I really want you to kind of, I want to say beat this in these folks' heads, but just remember this, y'all, with this next question. What is this money supposed to be used for?
So, because I remember our pre-talk on this. And so I definitely want to answer that question with our pre-talk in mind, with folks getting into trouble about these loans. But so it's to cover payroll expenses, rents in there, mortgage, commercial mortgage, also payroll, operating expenses, right? So that is something that, and they actually expanded, a category because remember the first time it was like 80, 75% payroll, the rest. So they're really trying to make it more flexible for you to be able to truly use this money where it counts. Our pre-conversation, we were talking about some of those folks who have gotten into trouble by spending, PPP money on luxury cars and trips and all the rest of this stuff. Now, what I would say from, the financial industry when it comes to that is, particularly for, the sole proprietors. Now, you guys really had a really kind of gray area there when it came to determining, and I really feel like it was a lot of opportunity and still is a lot of opportunity, for our sole proprietors, our Schedule C folks to be able to, use, because in essence, you're saying that what's left on your tax return is payroll because that's what you're taxed on when it comes to when you file taxes. So, for example, if you qualified for a $10,000 PPP based upon what your Schedule C was, then that means, that's payroll, right? You can use that towards payroll. And really from a documentation standpoint, what we recommended and what has also resulted in people getting 100% forgiveness is simply documenting what you're doing to pay yourself. And what does that constitute? That constitutes something as basic as transferring money from your business specific account to your personal account. And that demonstrates you paying yourself. Or, if you have checks, writing a check to yourself from your business account to your personal account to demonstrate that you have paid yourself. That constitutes you using that money for payroll. If you guys are catching what I'm saying in that. Now, if you then, you paid yourself, you have paid yourself, you have used the money under the context of what that money was allotted for. Now, if you want to, after you've paid yourself, put your money in your personal account, go and do all of that stuff, and that's why I always try to approach these headlines from both sides, because even though some of these headlines saying, person bought a luxury car with PPP funds, blah, 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 we don't know if that person paid himself or paid herself as I've just described, because I'm willing to argue, playing devil's advocate, that if they did that, they haven't broken the law, right? They paid themselves. So if they chose to, after that money hit their personal account, if they chose to buy a luxury car, they just paid it. You know what I mean? So that's why I did want to put that out there. But of course, again, for our Schedule C folks, and just really whether you're Schedule C or payroll tax with your 941s, you just want to make sure that you have documented that if you have a form of payroll, document it through your payroll, pay yourself through your payroll. And then again, when that money hits your personal account, it's your money because you've paid yourself.
All right, so I'm going to go now to, this popular term after it was done, this whole thing about loan forgiveness. Can you apply for this loan if you are still waiting on whether you apply for loan forgiveness or you're still waiting on the loan forgiveness status. You still apply for that?
Yes. So that's another thing that was clarified on the call I was on this morning. So the specific language that's even in the IFR and what was said this morning from SBA and Treasury officials is for those of us who got the PPP the first round and we want to reapply, it's a couple of stipulations, but assuming you meet those stipulations, the rules are that your second PPP will not be distributed or dispersed to you until you've finished the other PPP money. So if you still have PPP money, they're not going to disperse that second one until you've spent it. Right now, if you're in loan forgiveness, then one would believe that you have spent it. So you can be in a loan forgiveness or waiting on the loan forgiveness and apply for PPP, the second round of PPP, as long as you have demonstrated that those PPP funds, the original ones, have already been spent.
And even with this loan now, is this one going to be forgivable as well?
Yes, it's still subject to the same, and that's the other thing that we're well, one of many that we're waiting on for another IFR from the SBA and for an updated application for the streamlined $150,000 forgiveness. And so, you already have it for the $50,000. They're working on finalizing the forgiveness application for PPP loans up to $150,000. So once they publish that, then folks who would, have a PPP over the amount of $50,000, but in between $150,000, will be able to do that streamlined, more simplified forgiveness application.
So what is the cover period this time for? I know some was like 8 weeks and it stretched to 24 weeks. Is that the same thing this time?
Yep. So this round, borrowers can actually choose. So going into the application period, you can choose 8 or 24. So the first round, it was kind of, everything was trial and error. It was 8. And then, they extended it to 24. So if you needed it for 24, you could extend it 24. So this time you'll still have that flexibility, and it's depending on, how many workers you have or whatever your specific conditions are as to what you decide, but you can choose that when you're applying.
All right. And will the loans require any type of collateral or personal guarantee or anything?
No, it's documentation. As I said before, when it comes to PPP, hands down, there's not a credit requirement, guarantee requirement, collateral requirement. There's a documentation requirement. You have to have filed taxes when it comes to sole proprietors and other pass-through entities. You're gonna have to have a Schedule C. New borrowers, you can use 2019 or 2020. And so that's where a lot of opportunity lies, Jarvis. That's why, us talking today and talking about this right now is vital, for our community, because you have until March the 31st, which is smack in the middle of tax season. So work with your accountant, your tax preparer, and know these rules, know these guidelines, know your numbers. If you wrote everything off in 2019, because that was another thing that culturally we do, right? I just, I don't know, know why. It's almost like, I don't know why. Like, it's so intrinsic in our culture, or it's such like a default, right? When it comes to tax preparation, is, I want to reduce my tax liability. And so it seems like by default, your tax professional, a lot of folks got just completely taken right out of the ability to be approved because they didn't have any income. They wrote everything off, right? So now you can have that discussion. If you wrote everything off in 2019, so you didn't qualify for the PPP, you now have opportunity today up to March the 31st to sit down with a tax professional that knows this stuff and that can answer your questions, where you can balance out, hey, well, if I made 20,000 or if I made 50,000 and I want to leave all of that for the purposes of PPP, Will I have a tax bill? Okay, well, what about if I want to leave this? Will I have a tax bill? Those are the powerful conversations that you will be able to have right now. That's why I say it's a wonderful time to be a business owner. You can have those conversations right now up until March the 31st. If you're, depending on plan, I can't even talk. If you're depending on
Right.
apply this, that, hey, let me sit down. Let me get my paperwork together. Let me see, if it's going to be something I can take advantage of. So, new, you can use 2019 or 2020. And then for those of us who actually received the first PPP, now that we do have a little bit of a stipulation here, which says, yeah, okay, so you can get the second draw PPP. You can get another PPP. However, there has to be a reduction in income. All right. So, for some folks, that's going to be easy to show. For others, who actually made more money, last year, that's going to be, a stickler there. And that magic percentage is 25%. So if you receive the PPP the first time, right, and you want to apply again, today, this time, you have to demonstrate a 25% reduction. So, and the IFR that I just read is very specific because you can either measure quarter to quarter. So you can choose a quarter in 2020, but you have to compare that with a quarter of 2019. That's your comparison point, 2019 and 2020, to show that reduction. And so even overall, if your overall income, say for 2019 was 50,000, but in 2020, your overall income was 150,000, you can't show a reduction in income because you actually were more profitable. So, that's something to think about. If you, are thinking that you will be able to apply for another PPP, you have to have shown a 25% reduction in income between 2019 and 2020 in order to be able to get the PPP this time.
So let me make sure you get it right. So it's either you have to show a quarter or overall for the year.
Overall, the 25%, whether you choose the whole year, right? Because that gives you a little wiggle room, right? Say if your sales are typically down in the summertime, you know what I mean? Like comparing the quarter to quarter gives you a little bit of a wiggle room based upon the type of business that you have. Okay. But if a quarter to quarter is not going to show it and it's easier for you to do year to year, then you could go that way. But they did give those two different measurement points to try to give you a little flexibility to show that 25% reduction if it's there.
So that's the main, I wouldn't say the main stickler, but that would be whether you're approved or not for this second round.
If you receive the first one, that's hands down what is going to be asked of you if you're going to apply for the second time. Yes.
So do you recommend, I guess I may jump the answer out before you even ask the question, you recommend that all business owners get their 2020 tax returns done first before they apply for this loan?
I don't think that would be a bad idea, just because you're going in as opposed to the first time where tax season was done. We were just, everybody was trying to figure out what was going on with the lockdowns and everything because it was officially, I think, March 13th. So a lot of folks had already, done their taxes at that point. This time you have that, you're able to look forward and say, okay, right? So you have more time to be more strategic. So I would say if you can, to go ahead and get your 2020 taxes prepared, so that you can at least compare, what you've done and what your stuff is going to look like in 2020 in comparison to 2019.
All right. Well, do you have any other, let me ask you this. Do you have any other final thoughts you want to kind of tell people you know, we talked about PPP, but just overall, just business planning, bookkeeping. That in this last year, I know you said show documentation, but anything
Mhm,
other than that, or what should they look for in choosing like
mhm,
an accountant to manage the
mhm.
the books and stuff?
Well, I want to have one point with PPP,
Mhm.
and then it's really my feedback for all of the services, but for PPP in particular, those of us in the tax preparation and accounting world that work with minority-owned businesses and women-owned businesses, I issue a challenge to you guys, and I also issue a challenge to individual taxpayers. We know now, right? Like we know this information that we talked about during this podcast, and that I'm sure you probably experienced yourself because you were not approved last year, or someone who was not approved last year, and so you felt that sting. We know now. So my challenge, is that we pick up the baton where it was left, and we have those conversations, that we provide the numbers to our clients, and that you as a client, that you challenge the person who is doing your taxes to have a conversation with you about your bankability, because that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about minority owned businesses ability to be able to access funding, to be able to continue to run their businesses in such a time as this. And that requires you to have a conversation and to know your numbers, period. It's no way around it. I mean, you can go to any type of coach you want to, but if you do not have your accounting software in order, not just bought it, but actually in there doing reconciliations, working with a professional, knowing what your financial reports are saying and that is accurate. If you are not working with someone who can prepare your taxes and have a conversation, I challenge you to have that conversation, because that is where the movement is. I firmly believe that when it comes to the true unlocking access to capital for minority owned businesses, it is surrounding our numbers, knowing our numbers. Find someone that you can trust. No, that's a no judgment zone, right? Because we know that we have some work to do. If you've been in operation for some time and you need to get caught up on taxes, okay, find someone, no judgment zone, that you can trust, that knows their stuff. We've been doing taxes, my staff, for over 40 years. It's not a small business tax return scenario that we probably have not seen. You know what I mean? Seriously, in our community. But you're going to have to identify that and start having conversations about your numbers. If we didn't learn anything, and we learned a lot, a whole
Mhm.
bunch in the last 18 months. But if we didn't learn anything as business owners, and those of us that are still here and said, I'm committing to remaining in business, a part of that is you investing in yourself, in your decision to remain in business, and know what your numbers are. Have an accounting system where a professional is in there, and you're having conversation, you're setting goals,
Mhm.
right? You're doing forecasting, you're doing cash flow forecasting. You know what I mean? You're getting caught up on tax. That's where it's at. That's the movement, right? And so I've really, just from all of this, and having all these conversations with business owners, I've really pivoted my business as well in advocacy. Right. I mean, I went to DC and had the wonderful opportunity to testify on Capitol Hill about this very
Congratulations.
thing. Yeah. I mean, because it's something that I truly am passionate about, because it's not something that's hidden. This is obvious, but we just naturally have anxiety when it comes to numbers, and that can be linked to institutionalized racism. we have to be honest about that. There's reasons why we feel that way. We have that apprehension towards our numbers. However, they're not going anywhere. They're apprehend, just because you don't want to look at it does not mean that it's going to go away. So today is a good day to be a business owner. We have all these opportunities going on. You hung in there. You're still here after all of this stuff. So I challenge you, and I say, start having conversations so you can know your numbers.
Because even some of the software program is so cheap, it's down even like $15 a month. You could just
I mean, you have Wave, which is free. And I think even their free plan comes with now. At first, when they first started, you couldn't do reconciliations in there. So I shied away from it really. But last I checked, their free plan did allow for bank reconciliations, which is key. Of course, QuickBooks as well. They have a one that's, I think, $8 a month, $12 a month. Come on now. Y'all know we spend that on something way worse than having an accounting system. And really, they're making them so user-friendly now. But I still say, that you want to have on your team someone who knows this stuff, and who also, you need a person who is not only just doing accounting or bookkeeping, but also knows taxes. And a lot of people think by default that all comes in one package, and it doesn't, right? You can have an accountant that doesn't do taxes, or you can have a person that does taxes that knows nothing about bookkeeping, you know what I mean? Or nothing about payroll, or nothing about loan packaging, or what you need to be able to successfully get approved for a loan. So you're going to have to do your due diligence, right? Before you invest in a person. But there are those of us that are out here that are ready, you know what I mean, to, like I said, to get this movement up and going, even stronger, taking opportunities where they are, right? Like we've already learned last year. Now it's time to have even more wins this year.
All right, well, before we close, do you want to give people a little bit more? I know some people may have not watched the first video we did. Just a little bio, and then also how they can reach you.
Sure. So I'm Taliba Bales, and I am born and raised here in Birmingham, Alabama. Went to John Carroll for high school. And then after that, I moved to Nashville, where I went to Fisk University and HBCU there. And after that, I was in DC for 18 years. And I recently returned home almost 3 years ago to be employed by myself. 100%. I left the Department of Justice in 2018 to do this. It was a choice to be committed to more directly serve my community and people that look like me, because I know that there's power and security in your numbers. So when it comes to taxes, when it comes to bookkeeping, accounting, we also do business credit. We do tax planning. Everything you need to get your life together when it comes to your business. I'm your person, and I say that with confidence because I've had some real results when it comes to our businesses here in Alabama and across the United States. So you can get to know me better by texting TMB text to 66866. I'll make it easy for you, and that's all you got to do. Once you do that, I'll have your information and we can be connected. We can schedule a free consult. But again, that's 66866, and you're going to text TMB text to that number.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
Always good to see you. Congratulations on all your success, and keeping us, especially let us know, because one of the reasons why I wanted to bring her back on, because things have changed in this world, and like you said, business owners. First thing I always say, we're alive. That's the first thing.
I know that's
alive,
right. Yeah,
that means you operate in some form of business, even if you have to, I wouldn't say shut the business down or whatever the case may be, but you're still going. So you all please don't miss out on this opportunity.
Right.
Especially people that look like us, don't miss out on this opportunity, because the money's there. You can't say it's not there.
$8 billion. $8 billion.
8 million.
Billion. $8 billion.
$8 billion. So get your books, like you said, QuickBooks, little software.
Yeah.
I'm saying this, but she can't say this. you do probably need to sit down and go with that tax person before you do all that, because you can mess around and miss out on money that you think you're supposed to get by putting that wrong number out there.
That's true too. I mean, and I understand people want to self-prepare, right? But, now is really not the time for that. You know what I'm saying? Because everything that you do starts with your taxes. And when I say everything, even the grant, like anything that you're applying for, they want to know your numbers and they'll ask for your taxes. That was one thing that we learned last year too. So it wasn't just PPP and EIDL, and even your state and local grants were asking you for taxes, whether that be compliance with local taxes or your actual federal taxes and state taxes. And so, you had people that were sitting on the sidelines all last year because they had not done taxes or because you self-prepared and you don't have the bigger picture. But that's what we do. You got to have that bigger picture. And now is not the time to risk that. That's why I say if it's an investment, and there are nonprofits that do things for free as well. So it doesn't always have to be with a company like mine, that's going to charge you in some respect for the services, but get with a nonprofit, SBDC, some of the CDFIs here and in your state. Because they got federal money too to be able to provide you with those services. But whatever you do, just, develop a relationship with your numbers. And it really and truly does start with your tax experience. It really does.
Yeah, and then some of y'all out here, y'all know y'all special. So what you do? We got a lot going on. So go on, like you said, make that investment, everybody. Definitely.
Make the investment.
Yes. Yeah. So thank you all for watching today. Please check out whatshappeningbirmingham.com for more videos. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you all again. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching the What's Happening Birmingham video podcast. Please check out our website, app, or subscribe to our YouTube channel for the latest videos today.